On this episode of the History of the Chorus podcast with Curtis and Josh, we take a look at the band known as He Is Legend. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at IsSurvivedByPro for news and the latest episode postings. And make sure to subscribe to the show, leave us a 5-star review, and write us a comment on YouTube or whatever podcast service you're using. Also, make sure to check us out on TikTok and give us a follow at IsSurvivedByProductions. Now, without further ado, let's start the show.
The devil is in Atlanta. Army surrounded.
Welcome back to the History of the Chorus podcast, where each and every episode we take a look at the history of a band from the chorus genre. I'm Curtis.
And I'm Josh.
Josh, how's it going, man?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. This does not feel forced at all, man.
No, not at all. Not because we said
great,
all this
man.
already or anything. It doesn't feel forced.
I mean, here's the thing about it. This should really show how long it's been since we did this. I forgot to hit the record button. I mean, it's been like 3 or 4 weeks since we recorded an episode. So we're working out some kinks. We're getting back into the rhythm of it. But still, that's pretty frustrating.
We forgot to hit record.
That's rough.
Yeah, we've been off since like a week before Christmas.
It was a week or two, yeah.
So
I think it was 2 weeks before Christmas, actually. Is when we recorded the last one. Vanna, yeah.
Yep, the Vanna episode. Check out the Vanna episode.
I was about to say, let's take a look back at the first 13
Should we just start the
episodes.
episode with a bunch of shameless plugs for our other stuff?
Yes.
All other episodes of the History of the Chorus podcast, where you can listen to episodes on Vanna, Every Time I Die.
Follow Troy. Once Nothing.
Troy. I was like, others.
Norma Jean. The Chariot. And I think that was it so far.
It's like 4 Every Time I Die episodes.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's 4, what was it, 3 or 4 parts of Every Time I Die. That's the most we've done so far.
That'll keep you busy for several hours.
That's true, man. Because that's like almost 4 hours worth of content right there. Maybe 5, man. Maybe 5. Anyway, let's look on to the future, Josh. It's 2023. The future is bright. Let's talk about a band known as He Is Legend. How about that, huh?
I would love to talk about He Is Legend. I'm dying to talk about He Is Legend.
I'm dying to talk about that garden you got growing back there, bro.
Oh yeah, I'm a gardener.
What's up with the garden?
Well, I don't know. Ask He Is Legend. They
Alrighty, Mr. He Is Legend.
They seem to have an obsession with gardeners. I was going to ask, can you think of any, so the gardener is their character that you see over the course of several albums, and they talk about him in many different contexts. Can you think of a different band that has a centralized character like that?
Like, do you know one?
I can think of one off the top of my head, and I'm sure there's many others if I had a few minutes, but the first one that pops off to me is, unfortunately, Alesana.
Oh my gosh.
Because it's mainly the same guy over the course of a few albums. It's not always him, and they do a couple different albums, but it is the same guy from where Myth Fades to Legend and The Emptiness.
I was going to say after. Okay, yeah.
Are you going to say post Emptiness?
Well, no, I was going to say from The Emptiness on, because I know they did at least 2 albums that were basically based off of that storyline.
Okay. I want to say Myth to Legend is either supposed to be
part of that.
Yeah, kind of like maybe like a prologue or something. I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, that is one that has like a centralized character that we're always focused on. There's like I can't remember what he calls his, like, the main guy, but then there's like the stranger, there's like, these different people that he comes into contact with in that album.
Was it the murderer, the artist, maybe, or something like that?
Yeah, the artist.
Yeah.
I also, this just came to me. I don't know how we didn't say this right off the bat, but um, oh nope, and it slipped away from me again.
Oh,
Oh, because we've already done an episode on them. Oh, Sleeper. Um, where there's kind of not maybe not through the course of multiple albums, but there's very um distinguished like between characters, like we talked about the Archers, we
I was gonna
talked
say they
about
do
the
they do do a
Vipers,
lot of like
you know.
referencing throughout their albums to like especially back to that first album.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought them up because I've been meaning to ask you, have you listened to their last album? I know when we did that episode, you hadn't listened to it yet.
Yeah, I think I listened to at least part of it. It would have
Okay, a
been, I don't know,
little
it's
while
probably
back.
been a little bit, but
Okay, what'd you think of it, if you remember?
I mean, I think I liked it. I don't remember being like, oh no, this is terrible.
I mean, to me, dude, they don't have a bad album. I'm not really a big fan of that EP right before this last album.
The Titan one.
Yeah, well, here's
It's
the
a
thing
weird
about it.
one.
Well, here's the thing about it. This last album is
I
supposed
don't
to
care for the world building in that. That's
right.
lame as
Well,
hell.
that's what I was gonna say though. That's this last album is supposed to kind of continue that story though, but kind of in a different way. I mean, it doesn't seem as complex as that EP was, you know. But I was gonna say I really like that album. It's honestly one of my favorites, and it's like continuously on repeat.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to finish it out.
Yeah, it's pretty good. But yeah,
Um,
especially with them, it's like I feel like they do a lot of referencing back to that first album. Um, there's a song on that last album that they reference a line from Son of the Morning album, and I can't remember which song. It's one of the songs in the middle, but it's the line about face them one on 1,000. They reference
okay.
that line again in this new album. So yeah, I feel like they do a lot of referencing, and yeah, like you said, there are characters too. Um, I think of it's a little bit different, but I think of like Maylene, because like Dallas Taylor is said before, he writes all the songs based off of like thinking that they are well, the band is based off of Ma Barker and her, her sons in the gang, and he has said that
Mother
he
Maylene and her
writes,
7 sons of disaster.
yeah, he says that he always writes songs trying to think of it more from like a point of view of like from the sons, because he feels like all the guys in the band are like the sons, and so he's trying to write all these songs kind of based from like their view, not saying that like they're true or anything like that, but
Yeah.
you know
I
what I'm
mean,
saying.
we definitely felt that in the first 2 albums for sure.
Yeah, I
You
was about to
know,
say definitely for the second one,
like the
for
way
me
the
at least.
first
Yeah,
album ends is like,
yeah, and then there's that too.
that's
Yeah,
on the nose.
yeah, yeah,
But
for sure. Yeah, I can't think of any other bands right off the top of my head though.
the only
I'm
other
sure like you, if
one,
I sat there and think about it, but
yeah, the only other one I can think of right now is Coheed and Cambria, because there's a massive story there, and up through it's like Second Stage, Turbine Blade through No World for Tomorrow is all the same story progressing forward. And then once you get to, I think it's the Afterman. Once you get there, then it's like a prologue to the whole thing. So it goes like back to the beginning.
backwards. Okay.
Yeah. Because, and I don't have the comics, so I don't know exactly what the full story is. Because Claudio Sanchez wrote like a full
Oh
layout of
wow.
all that. It's like kind of how Gerard Way wrote like the story of the Killjoys,
Yeah.
and that was a lot of what was in Planetary. Is it called Planetary Go? Is that the name of the album?
Is that what it's called? I
It's
didn't
the one
think that
after
was that
Black
doesn't sound familiar.
Parade.
I know what you're talking about. That just that name doesn't sound
You've listened to
right to
that one,
me,
right?
but yeah, one time it was a long time ago. It's called Danger Days.
Danger Days. That's
The
right.
true
That's right.
lives of the fabulous Killjoys.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's been a long time. I haven't circled back around to it, but
it's a decent one. There's a couple skips on there, but for the most part, it's pretty solid.
yeah.
Um,
Real quick, they haven't put out a new
yeah.
album, have they? I know they're back playing live, but
No, they put out, they
we're way
did.
off topic. But I don't
Yeah,
care.
we'll come back to He Is Legend.
Don't worry, it's
Um,
still there.
yeah, they did. Okay, so they did that cover of um Desolation Row, and that was like a single they put out. That was for like Watchmen though, so that actually might
I was
have
like, that was a
been
way back, way back.
them.
I'm talking.
Yeah,
They just came back recently, is
yeah,
what
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying.
Well, they have you listened to those? There's like 5 or 6 tracks that they put out as singles, but they go together.
Mm,
And I can't remember what those are called, but that was after. I want to say that was after Danger Days,
okay.
and then there wasn't really anything. But they've put out at least a single or two. I think they're kind of doing the Maylene thing. They're like, will
Ugh.
they? Won't they?
It's like, come
And
on,
they're like,
just decide.
here's a single or two, and we're gonna tour. Um, and then Gerard Way, I heard him on something else not that long ago. I want to say it was like a Black Dahlia Murder song,
Yeah.
and he was doing like guest vocals, and it was brutal. Like it
Was it?
was, yeah, he was doing some like crazy screams.
Okay. Okay.
But
Hmm.
yeah,
Interesting. Well, let's talk about He Is Legend. You want to?
yeah.
I know
Let's talk
I know you're
about.
dying to
I'm
talk about He Is
dying to
Legend.
talk about He Is Legend.
Or were you dying to talk about Will Smith's I Am Legend? I'm confused.
Not so much.
Okay, maybe it was He Is Legend. Okay,
That
let's
one's
talk about He Is
okay.
Legend.
Everybody always praises that movie. You forget about the
Man,
scene every time until you get to it where he has to strangle that dog. And
he loses all credibility. Anyway, let's move on.
let's talk genre on He
Yes.
Is Legend.
So I know we talked when we decided, hey, let's do He Is Legend. We kind of talked about, well, core genre wise, what are they? Because what I found was more hard rock, stoner rock, southern rock. But I did find some in my digging of information here on their earlier albums, specifically the first EP, their first 2 full length albums. They're categorized as metalcore and post hardcore in the genre spectrum. So we found the loophole. We're in. We got them. So here we are. So yeah, metalcore, post hardcore, and we're gonna see this transition more, especially when it gets to It Hates You and Heavy Fruit, kind of more just into like a simple hard rock and some stoner rock sounds, which is kind of interesting. I feel like I was listening to It Hates You the last couple of days, and I dove into Heavy Fruit a little bit. I know we're not going to talk about Heavy Fruit on this episode. We'll wait till the next one, but they definitely scale back on the screaming compared to the first 2 full length albums on those 2 for sure.
Yeah.
So, all right, man, let's get on in it here. This band was formed in the late 1990s in Wilmington, North Carolina by friends Adam Tanbus, Stephen Batch, Matt Williams, and Schuler Kroom.
That is
I
a
didn't
hell of a
realize
name.
which one, Schuler Kroom?
Schuler Groom.
Right, man. I didn't realize that they were together as a band in the late 90s. Because if you think about it, I mean, like their first full length album didn't come out until 2004.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
late
crazy to
90s
me.
is probably like 99.
Maybe. Yeah, and maybe I'm just sitting here thinking like 97.
And like while they're in high school.
98.
So even if,
Right.
that was just like 4 or 5 years, it
Well,
would
and
have been
then
just a couple years after high school.
right. Here's the other thing too, is when they first got together, I mean, they didn't have the name He Is Legend. They performed under several different names. I'm going to say these names to you, Josh, and I'm interested to see what you think of these
Schuler
names. So,
Crooner and the Slappy Bass Boys.
no. I want you to rate these names on a scale to 1 to 10, 1 being absolute garbage, 5 being, yeah, it's all right. And then 10 being, that sounds great. So here we go. Ready?
Yep.
Got the first name is Stronghold.
Stronghold. Is it 2 words?
All one word.
Okay. I actually kind of like that.
Okay.
Maybe
Okay.
like 7.
Okay. This is an interesting one. It's called No One Wins. Now, the one, never mind. No one wins.
Okay.
Uh,
Um, 5.
5. Okay. I think this last one's kind of my favorite. I don't know why. It just sounds kind of cool. Last one's called the Uriah Omen.
Uriah Omen.
The
Yeah, I like
Uriah
that one.
Omen.
Maybe
It's
like
kind of
a
interesting.
maybe like an 8.
Okay. Okay. So
This is one
anyway,
of
they would
the this is like
go
one of the
ahead.
toughest parts of naming a band. Like no people don't talk about that a whole lot. When you're in a band and you're like, man, guys, we're doing a cool little thing here. What should we call ourselves? Everybody has a different idea for what the
Right.
band name should be,
And
and
they're usually
rarely do
garbage.
people just meet in the middle and compromise on them, you know?
Right. Yep.
And yeah, that's always a struggle. I feel like I've had so many great band names just go by the wayside because we just could not get on the same page.
On the same page. What do you
And
think is your
eventually I'm just like, whatever. Like, we'll just be
what
whatever.
what would you say was your best band name that you came up with? That
Um,
you can remember, if you can remember any.
I thought Robert Paulson was really good.
Okay.
I thought that was like very, especially for the time, like very like, ooh, it's like it's a little Easter egg.
Yeah.
It's culty because it's from Fight Club, you know.
What was it? Somebody told me the other day, I was talking to somebody at my work, and she was telling me her husband picked a doctor based off of his name being Robert Paulson, and he thought it was really cool, and the doctor turned out to be really crappy. It's like, what?
Well, yeah, you
Okay.
probably shouldn't pick your doctor based on
Especially based on that name. I don't know if you want that guy working on you, but okay. Anyway.
your guy's doctor is
Yeah,
just meatloaf.
right. Yeah, so they're going to perform under those names for the first few years of their existence. And their friend Mackenzie Bell would also join the band on guitar. The band soon, though, would settle on the name He Is Legend in 2003, which is actually an adaptation taken from the 1954 book I Am Legend by Richard Matheson. I don't know if that book has anything to do, probably has nothing to do with the Will Smith movie, but
I mean, if it was from the 1950s, I don't
probably
know.
not. I mean, who knows? Who knows? Be interesting. So here's our first official lineup. We have Schuler Kroom on vocals. We got Adam Tanboos on guitar, Mackenzie Bell on guitar, Matt Williams on bass, and Stephen Bach on drums.
Did you say that
Now,
was a? I'm sorry. Did you say
I
that was a Richard Matheson book?
yes, I Am Legend 1954 by Richard Matheson.
Yeah, it is a the 1954 post-apocalyptic horror novel by American writer Richard Matheson that was influential in the modern development of zombie and vampire movies
Oh, that's interesting.
and literature, popularizing the concept of a worldwide apocalypse due to disease. The novel was a success and developed into several films: The Last Man on Earth, The Omega Man, and I Am Legend. Was the inspiration for George Romero's Night of the Living Dead.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah.
Very nice, man. Very nice. It is
Look, I haven't
recording.
cut my hair in so long.
Ugh.
Look at how long it is.
Ugh. Bro, give it up. Go ahead and cut that one string off and just go bald.
That one string.
Quit hanging on to that one piece of hair, brother.
That one piece of hair.
Give it up.
I still have hair, you dick. It's
All
not as
right.
thick and lustrous as it once was, but it still exists.
Thick and lustrous hair, is that important to you? Yeah, it really is. It really is, man. All right. The band would sign with Tribunal Records to introduce to the world their sound, their first EP, 2004, 91025. See, I almost said
South
90210.
Carolina 90215.
I almost said 90210 again, man. 91025 EP. This EP would be produced by Jamie King. We've talked about him before in previous episodes. He's done work on all of the Between the Buried and Me albums. And I don't think we mentioned this before, but Josh, he has done work on a bunch of Kill Whitney Dead albums, specifically the ones that we used to listen to.
Oof.
Yeah. I was like, oh, okay.
That's some rough ones
That's a
to
trip.
have on your record.
That's a trip. All right. Songs on this album include Hip Hop Anonymous, Scram Toots, Suave,
Toots.
Toots. By the way, but hold on a second. Wait a minute. I forgot to ask you this. Did you hear or have you seen the new Perry Ferry song?
No, but I know they're. God damn it! I know they're touring with Norma Jean.
Are they
They're
really?
going to be together
Really?
somewhere near here, I think. Like somebody told me OKC, but
It must be a different tour because Norma Jean's about to go on their Death Rattle tour, but I don't remember
maybe
seeing
maybe
Periphery
there's like a
being on there.
crossover night or something.
Maybe so.
I
Anyway,
don't know. They could be wrong. I totally haven't looked into this at all.
you also have The Fool, Martini. Either they decorated for Christmas early or they're all dead. Down in a Crypt, and the finale, You Sound Like a White Boy. Well, thank you very much.
Have you
Appreciate
listened to that track? You sound like a white boy.
This is actually the first time I've ever listened to this EP, period. I knew it existed, but I never really listened to it before.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, it's not available on Spotify.
Really?
Yeah, it's like grayed out, so like you can't use it. And I
That's
don't
weird.
know why, but I didn't try to listen to it. I mean, I forgot to try to pull it up anywhere
I'd
else.
say it's on YouTube.
Did you
Wonder
notice
what the
anything
deal
about
is.
it that would have been a red flag?
No. We can look at the lyrics, see if there's anything in that.
Yeah, I'm gonna get that real quick.
I was like, maybe it's just a deal like they didn't like the title or something. I don't know. That's kind of weird though. Um
Cutthroat, bleeding to the floor, trying harder to explode now. Her hair is getting everywhere and she's falling like the rain. Cutthroat, take the water on the stove, boil your weapons, wars and weddings, your wounds just kill me. Hung from our tree, that's how you choke, and she's seen the rain, trying harder to explode now. Her hair is slowly falling. It says slowly falling, and then it says failing out. And she's falling like the rain, and I'm falling like the rain. Cutthroat, the pretty ones, burning, the smell is amazing. My heart fills with love and the taste of battery acid, so tragic. Now I've got to tell the kids you've gone and I'll never forgive you for this one. If you wanted to help, then you're dead wrong. That God-forsaken tree is where you belong. The suicide coward, so tragic. It is pretty dark.
Yeah,
Wars and
well,
weddings,
here's
boil your weapons, your wounds just kill me. Hung from our tree, cutthroat, you won, so tragic.
here's what some people on YouTube comments were saying. Somebody had said that they had read on Reddit that the vocalist mentioned that it was taken down because of the song title, which is what I was saying. I mean, I don't know. That just seems pretty dumb. Somebody
Yeah.
did say it's not on Amazon Music either. And then somebody was saying that they said typically this stuff is related to licensing issues. This song was probably recorded / produced differently than the rest of the tracks and couldn't fit into the same licensing agreements as the other tracks because of it. Albums are usually uploaded to most streaming services simultaneously, so the same rule will apply across all platforms. I don't know.
Who did you say produced this whole album?
Jamie King.
Okay, I mean they've got him as the credit producer on this song too.
Who knows? That's why I'm
That's
wondering
weird.
if it's
I
true
mean,
about the
y-
name then.
yeah, I don't know. I could see the name in connotation with some of the lyrics
Yeah.
because there is some kind of weird stuff in there, but yeah, I don't know. Hard to say. I've never seen I don't think I've ever seen that before.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So that's weird.
Well,
I've
have
seen
you
them not
listened
have whole albums, but
right. Have you listened to this album before?
I think I've listened to a couple of the tracks off of it before.
Yeah.
I think I've heard The Fool before and maybe Hip Hop Anonymous, but I don't think any of the others I'd heard.
What'd you think of it?
Because the first album I was introduced to was I Am Hollywood.
Why I'm Hollywood. Yeah,
So
same here. Yeah.
yeah. I like this album. I think it's good. It
Yeah, I
sounds
think so
like a
too.
precursor to I Am Hollywood. It fits in with those albums.
Well, and it's to me too, it's like I mean, being your first EP, I mean, obviously you're working with Jamie King and he's a really good producer. It doesn't sound rough. It sounds like, I mean, they're just like right there in the middle of their discography, to be honest, with the sound.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, and I'm with you too. I think it's a great way to come in before I Am Hollywood.
Yeah.
Well, this EP was good enough to catch the attention of One Solid State Records, Josh, and the band would end up signing with them, and they
I
would
think that's the
soon
dream at the time.
at the
Like
Dream. Oh yeah, well, especially in this time period. I mean, Solid State was really big at that time.
you're just
They
in
were
such
really
good
hitting their
company too.
yes. Well, and that's what I'm saying too. I mean, they had such good like bands on their label. Yeah, it was good company to have. That's going to bring us to their first full length album, 2004's I Am Hollywood, produced by Adam Dunkowitz from Killswitch Engage, the guitarist. We've talked about him
Oh yeah.
several times before. Of course, I think we've said in this time period, in this mid 2000s, he is very active in a lot of these bands that we talk about. In talking about this album, vocalist Shula Kroom described the concept of it by saying, quote, I Am Hollywood just mainly harps on the creepy side of the city that is acclaimed for making your dreams come true, end quote. It's pretty true there, bro. Pretty
Yeah.
true.
It's the album art is intestines, right?
That's what I always thought it was. That's what it looks
Yeah.
like to me. Yeah, that's what it's interesting. An interesting color scheme to it too.
This is like their
Purple and
first kind of
yellow.
big bump up to like numbers wise. And
Yeah.
just from Spotify, they only have
What's
like
their
a
biggest
hundred.
album on Spotify?
Um, it kind of steadily goes up over the next couple albums, and then it drops just a little on Heavy Fruit, comes back on Few pretty good, and then yeah, White Bat is still like they're still kind of riding out where they were the first few albums. And then the most recent one, Endless Hallway, is a little lower. Looks like
Well, you got to give him credit on, or I mean, a little tell him
time.
slack on that one because I think that one just came out in November.
Yeah, I mean they have
So
like 100. I think it said 107,000 monthly listeners, and that's just on Spotify. So, and that's
okay.
monthly.
Songs
Um,
on this album include "The Seduction," "Eat a Book," "The Creature Walks," "The Greatest Actor Alive or Dead," "China White" Part One, "Best in Mexico," "The Walls Have Teeth," "Do You Think I'm Pretty," "Dinner with a Gypsy," and the finale, "I Am Hollywood." What was you said this was the album that you were introduced to. Was The Seduction the first song that you heard?
that or I Am Hollywood.
I think The Seduction was the first song that I got introduced to He Is Legend.
Yeah.
So it's a good album, man. I don't know. This one is probably the one I always think of first. And again, it's probably because this was the album I was introduced on too, but this is always the album I think of when I think of He Is Legend. And it's kind of weird because like I don't know. Well, I think for one thing, and we'll talk about it here in the on the next full length album when we discuss that one. But his vocals are different, just kind of the way they sound on this album compared to the next one and everything after that. And like I said, we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a little bit. I don't know. It just doesn't. The music too doesn't feel as like kind of dark and heavy as we see starting on the next album. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's a lot lighter in this one. And China White in this one starts out really like it's probably the most tame of the three, I think, except for maybe 3.
I was going to say 3 is like acoustic. I would say that one's the most tame. I think 3 is the most tame. China White 1 is in the middle, and then China White 2 is probably the heaviest so far.
Yeah.
They haven't done a 4th one yet, have they?
I don't think so.
Well, I don't know what's on the newest album. I don't think there was one on White Bat, was there?
No.
Okay. I don't know I haven't seen the track list for the newest album yet.
Because there's not one on Few. There's not one on White Bat. And then, no, there's no 4.
Okay.
Might not be one at this point.
True. Probably for the best not to.
Right, to go that many albums without one. Like, I mean, there hasn't been one since It Hates You.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. They put that one to bed. Man, I Am Hollywood that's a killer ending, man, to the album. It's definitely a good one for sure.
Yeah, this was good all the way through for me. I like The Seduction. I like Eating a Book, Creature Walks.
And there's honestly not like a bad song on here.
No. And numbers wise, the lowest one is Do You Think I'm Pretty?
Yeah. I would probably agree with that then. Yeah. It's a good all the way through album for sure.
Yeah.
Alrighty, man. That's 2004's I Am Hollywood from Solid State Records. Now, Josh, you and I here at History of the Chorus podcast, well, we're in favor of one thing for sure. I mean, we can definitely agree on this. We love split albums. Don't we, Josh?
We love a good split EP.
We love a good split EP. Well, Josh, I got one for you, man. 2006 Black Unicorn Split. This is a split album between He Is Legend and a little band called Classic Case. I've never heard of Classic Case. Have you heard of them before?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. We're not really going to spend a whole lot of time on this, but I just wanted to mention it. There's 5 songs on this album, on this split album.
New tracks?
Well, there's only one original song on here, and it's by He Is Legend, and it's called Cape Fear. I've actually never heard of it. I meant to look it up, but I haven't listened to it yet. Have you heard that one?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, we'll have to listen to that. Now, that's the opening track. Like I said, that's going to be the only original by either band on this album. The songs after that go China White, which is played by Classic Case, and it's going to be the He Is Legend cover. Then you have He Is Legend covering Classic Case's song Modus Operandi. I don't know. Then you got Classic Case covering Soundgarden's Fell on Black Days. Because I fell on black days. Yeah.
Oh, God.
And then you got He Is Legend covering Bobby Gentry's Fancy. Yeah, that's it.
Huh. I would like to have more split albums where 2 bands cover each other's stuff.
That would be pretty cool.
I like that. You know, you want to know like what immediately pops into my head?
Shoot, who?
I've said this forever as a joke, but I want Incubus to do a tour where they only play Rage songs, and I want Rage to do a tour where they only play Incubus songs. So I want to split between Rage and Incubus where they play each other's songs.
That would be very interesting. It's funny you say that because there was, I think, Touche Amore and Circus Survive just did a split in the past couple of years where they covered each other's songs. The Circus, I don't remember what Circus Survive played, but I think trying to remember which song Touche covered, but whichever one it was actually really good. I was actually surprised because their styles are so different. But it was a really good cover of a Circus Survive song. So anyway, yeah,
I
that's
can't get started from the part where I left off
yesterday. Yes. That is 2006's Black Unicorn Split. Now let's talk about 2006's Suck Out the Poison, Josh. You want to?
This is actually my favorite album.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me ask you something. What up with the album artwork, Josh?
Isn't it just like an old bridge?
Yeah. Well, it's
like,
a bridge. I thought it was like a stairwell.
Like stairs in the
or
woods.
stairway. A stairwell.
Yeah, that's weird.
It's a weird just like the what am I trying to say? I can't think of the word I'm trying to look for. The filter, like the filter on the picture is, I don't know, man. And then like the script of like the name too. I don't know. It always kind of looks weird. It looks like an old like 70s album cover.
Yeah.
Always kind of gives me a weird vibe.
Yeah.
But it's a good album. It's a really good album, man.
It's creepy. It fits with the album, I think.
Good 14 songs worth.
Yeah. Well,
man.
and I see what you're saying. Like it feels like an old album from like the 70s because of like the lettering and stuff of He Is Legend.
Well, and that's what I'm saying too, of like the filter of like the picture kind of looks kind of old and kind of.
Yeah, this feels like
tattered.
a record.
Yeah, feels like a vinyl.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I love this one. It's to me, it's the most southern sounding of their albums. So for sure, I was all in on that.
Yes, this is where the southern rock definitely comes in, which is interesting because on their first full-length album and their EP, they recorded those in North Carolina, but for Suck Out the Poison, they're going to relocate all the way to California.
And that's not southern.
That's weird. Yeah, that's so weird.
Nothing southern about that.
Nothing southern about that. Yeah, this album is going to be produced by Steve Avetz. We've actually talked about him before in previous episodes. We actually talked about him in our last couple of episodes about Vanna. He did the producing work on New Hope, and he also did the producing work on New Junk Aesthetic for Every Time I Die. And he's done some work with Dillinger Escape Plan 2, among a bunch of other bands.
Ooh, Dillinger.
I think he's been around since like I don't know. I've never really done like a big deep dive into him. I've just like heard some stuff here and there. I mean, it wasn't like crappy to me, but it didn't like really move the needle, you know?
Yeah.
It was just kind of there.
Listen to the first album. I can't remember what the name is.
The very first one?
Yeah, listen to the first one.
Okay. Okay, so I was just talking about just a little bit ago about the vocals, the sound of the vocals from their EP and I Am Hollywood. Now it's kind of changing over just the way his vocals sound on Suck Out the Poison and beyond. This kind of change in his vocals kind of came along with a mixed reviews of the album. Not saying that it's a bad album. It's a good album. A lot of people liked it, but a lot of people were kind of turned off by the way his vocals kind of changed.
In this album?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like the way he sounds. Not so much of like the screaming or anything. It's just like, I don't know. To me, it sounds like he's more mature.
I mean, it's different.
Sounds like he's older, you know?
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because there was so many people, I don't want to say complain. I mean, addressing it, that they even came out and put it out on their page, on their band page, that let's see if I can pull this up real quick. They put out a statement about it. Okay, so it says it received mixed reviews from longtime fans due to a major difference in vocalist Shula Kroom's vocals. The
Shula
FAQ section,
Kroom.
yeah, the FAQ section of their website addresses this. Quote, touring constantly, smoking constantly, and drinking occasionally are all going to have effects on your voice. What you eat for breakfast will also have an effect on your voice. Some of the changes in Schuler's voice came from him wanting to do something with more character, and part of it was his natural voice changing. I like it. I mean, it wasn't like, oh, this is off-putting to me or, anything like that, like some people may be saying. I don't know. It's just kind of interesting what I would like to know what's like people were actually saying about it, but I couldn't find anything. What do you think? I mean, obviously, like you said, this is your favorite album, so you like it, but
Yeah, I like it. To me, I mean, it just sounds different. It just sounds like
he sounds
whether it was
older.
intentional or not. Yeah, it just sounds.
Just sounds like his voice changed.
Yeah,
Got kind of growlier, more like rough, in a good way.
yeah.
To
I mean,
me.
I'm feeling
I
it.
feel
I love
like
this album.
I feel like, well, I think I just said it. It's like I Am Hollywood, even though the concept that Schuler talked about, with the album, everything was supposed to be kind of like, kind of dark and showing the creepy side of Hollywood and everything. It seems lighter than what we're going to hear from Suck Out the Poison and everything else musically and vocally. And I think that's just because they sound heavier on their music, kind of more like darker tones, and with the way his voice is, and he kind of goes, more for like a growling kind of vocal, singing and everything like that. And even to the point where it's like they don't do as much like screaming anymore. He just kind of goes more kind of like rough vocals, you know what I'm saying, in these next
Yeah.
couple albums. I don't know. It's not a problem for me. Like I said, I would like to know what some of these people's like actual beef was, like specifically instead of just saying, "Well, his voice changed. I don't like it." Like, what do you don't like about it, though? But
It's different. I don't like it.
yeah. Did you know? Josh, your favorite album by He Is Legend almost wasn't released?
What?
Yeah, the band was actually on the verge of breaking up during the recording process. So, just for you, buddy, they stuck it out and released your favorite He Is Legend album.
Thank God.
Thank you, He Is Legend. Thank you. This is actually going to be the last album for Mackenzie Bell on guitar. Songs on this album include Dixie Wolf, The Seduction of, Attack of the Dungeon Witch, Suck Out the Poison, Mushroom River, the instrumental track opening, China White Part 2, Serpent Sickness, Electronic Throat, Stampede, The Widow of Magnolia, The Pot-Bellied Goddess, instrumental track Cannonball Hands, The Tomato Parade, Goldie's Torn Locks, and the finale Louds. I like how they kind of incorporated the seduction on Dixie Wolf. Obviously, it's in part of the name too, but I thought that was pretty cool. They kind of give a little tip of the cap there to their first album, and kind of brought that into this next one too. What's your favorite song on this album, Josh?
Oof. It's
You have
either
one, right?
no, I think it's Electronic Throat.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I
What
love
does
that
that
one.
for you?
The beginning part that starts out with that that super Maylene riff.
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
I was about to say, if there's a Maylene song on here, it's definitely Electronic Throat. That's for sure.
yeah, it's the most southern sounding song, and I think musically that's why I gravitate towards it. But then also it's the story of the song. Like I like it. It's like a Frankenstein's like bride type situation, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I just like I like it all around.
Sure.
What
I'm gonna
about
have
you?
to go. There's a couple of good songs. I mean, obviously, I like the first two. I like the first three. Dixie Wolf Attack the Dungeon, which Suck Out the Poison. Um, China White too is really good too. I like the instrumental tracks. I think they're good. Um, Kind of transition tracks. Widow Magnolia is pretty good. Like you said, I like the Southern sound on Electronic Throat, but I think I got to go with the closer, dude. I don't know
Louds?
why, but I got to go with Louds. I don't know why. It's just kind of, it's loud.
With the last few tracks, I go with Goldie's Torn Locks.
That's a good one too. I mean, it's again, this is a good album that you can listen to from beginning to end and really not like skip anything. I mean, there may be, kind of a little bit here and there, kind of like, yeah, but you could listen to it all the way through and not have a problem.
It's that
It's a
riff in
good.
Goldie's Torn Locks, the dun 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 dun. So good.
Yes.
It's
All
just
righty,
like
man.
so oh, so good.
There's a
I
lot of good
didn't
riffs on
know
this album, man.
I actually didn't know this album had come out like when it did. I had a Take Action tour CD
Yeah.
that I heard Mushroom River on, and I was like, "This is He Is Legend." I was like, "I don't know this song," and then I found out that this album had been released like that year.
See, that's the weird thing to me is like it feels like these first two albums should have been released earlier or later than what they were. Like I feel like I Am Hollywood was like 2006 and like Suck Out the Poison was like 2008 or 9. But then like when you realize it was 2004 and 2006, it's like, wow, really?
Yeah.
That just doesn't feel right. I don't know why. It just doesn't, man. But all right, this 2006's Suck Out the Poison from Solid State Records. All right, man, here we go. We got some changes coming. Like I said, this last album was
The first of many, many, many changes coming.
this was the last album for guitarist Mackenzie Bell. Now, hang in here with me because it's going to get just a little confusing, maybe. All right, so Mackenzie Bell leaves. He's replaced by Mitchell Marlowe. Now, Mitchell is going to be playing guitar, but he's only going to be playing guitar on their upcoming tour. And to be honest, he's really not going to be able to play much because he's got some other stuff going on too. So he's going to end up being replaced on tour by Worth Weaver on guitar. But then Worth Weaver
sounds like Mitchell doesn't have his shit together.
Yeah, well, he's got his stuff together. He's just, I think he does some like producing work because he's going to produce their next album actually.
Okay.
But he's got a lot of stuff going on too, and I think one of the things they said was there was a point in their tour where he accidentally booked a band to record at his studio, and so like he had to take off at the certain part of the tour, and so they ended up just going out as a 4-piece group, and then he would play for a little bit, and he had some other stuff going on, and then they decided to get Worth Weaver in, and he played some of the tour, and then he had some personal stuff going on too, so they went back to a 4-piece group again. So most of the time in 2007, they're going to be playing as a 4-piece with some guitarists here and there coming in as the fifth member. And this tour, I put this note in here because it sounded funny to me. This tour that they're playing on at this time is called the Peanut Butt Tour.
The Peanut Butt Tour.
Yes. I don't know what the heck that's about, but I just thought that was kind of funny.
All right.
And while they're on this tour at this time, they would be leaving Solid State Records and joining Tragic Hero Records. Which brings us, Josh, to 2009's It Hates You from Tragic Hero Records, produced by Mitchell Marlowe, which we just talked about, and mastered by one Jamie King, bringing him back again. Now, the guys must have not liked it in California. I don't know. Maybe they wanted to get back to North Carolina because they came all the way back over to the East Coast to record this album. And just like on tour, they would record it as a 4-piece group. This is where the change of sound really starts coming on. We talked about this at the beginning of this episode. This is where you start kind of reeling back on the screaming vocals and just kind of more for kind of a rough vocal sound, singing wise, it seems like. Songs on this album include
I'm Becoming the Garden.
Do what?
Ah, I'm becoming the gardener.
He is the gardener, people. He is the gardener. Songs on this album include Dice Dicefulus. How do you say that first note title? How do you say that one, Josh?
Dicephalus.
Dicephalus? Okay. We'll go with that one. It's party time. Everyone I know has fangs. The Primarily Blues. Cult of She. Stranger Danger. Don't touch that dial. Decisions, decisions, decisions. The Future's Bright Man. China White, Part 3. That's nasty. And the finale, Mean Shadows. Josh, what do you think, man? 2009, It Hates You. Not me,
like
I don't
one.
hate you, but you know, it hates you.
It does. I like it. What do you think about the artwork?
It's weird. What is
It is
up with that
weird.
artwork, man?
And it's a pterodactyl like shooting a weird beam into an ostrich's head.
You know what I always thought it was at first glance was
What?
a pterodactyl flying overhead of an ostrich wearing a party hat.
Oh, I like that.
That's
He's
what
ready to
I always
party.
thought it was. Yeah, it's party time, man. Yeah, I don't know.
Uh,
That's what I always thought of when I first would see it. It's like you're kind of like out of focus. You're like, oh no,
yeah.
that's a pterodactyl shooting some weird magical rays at an ostrich. Yeah,
They're
it's
they're
weird. It's
party
like
rays.
what is I don't understand it. And then it's like a little like the what is the
It's the old label maker.
yeah, it's like the old label maker. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a weird combo here. It's like, what are we going for?
Yeah. I don't know. I like it. It's weird.
Yeah, it's
Not so
it's
weird that
interesting.
it like makes me sick to look at it, but
Oh man, just think of it
it's
as the
that's like
ostrich is wearing a
think
party
about
hat.
like when you look at One Wing, the full picture of the thing. It's like it
Dude,
makes
it's
me a little
crazy, man.
sick to look at.
Really? Like
It's
nauseous?
just like too much. There's too much
Too
going
much going
on.
on. That's probably
Yeah.
why they went down to like one little guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy all they got going on there. Tell me what you think, man. Give
I
me your
like this one.
thoughts.
I like this one. It closes out that block for me from I want to say, I mean, even with 90125, I feel like it goes with these other four. Like all four of those have a similar sound, you know, even if it's not exactly the same, Suck Out the Poison is a little darker, but they all sound similar and they all
Yeah.
sound like the same band.
Yeah.
Um, I like this album overall.
Does it take a departure for you when it gets to Heavy Fruit?
A little bit. See, it's
Okay.
the
I mean,
end. It's the
go
end
ahead.
of this album. It's the last few tracks of this one, the first few of Heavy Fruit that don't really play as well for me. I will
Okay.
say that was it Ugly Shadows, Mean Shadow?
Mean Shadows. Ugly Shadows.
I do like how they come back at the very end of that song with that breakdown.
Yeah.
Nothing pisses me off more than when a band does a fade out of an album. Like that
Yes.
drives
That's
me
terrible.
fucking
It's
nuts.
terrible, man.
Come back and hit me with something that leaves me like, oh shit, like I wanted
I'll say
more
this
of that at the very end of the album.
you should be emptying the tank, throwing everything out there that you got at the very end there, not just be like, well, we're gonna leave you hanging here and wanting some more.
Yeah. Isn't what's the last track of Wars?
Is it
It's not
Overseas?
not
No,
Daggers.
Miss Montgomery, Alabama the third.
Yeah, that's a track that
That's a
leaves
good
you
one.
wanting
But
more.
But the one thing that I really like about that album and the way that track ends, it's like it almost kind of like fades right into the first song again.
Yeah. That is cool.
Yeah, that's pretty sick. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm with you on that. I do not like it when they just kind of like I like Oh God, the Aftermath, the way it ends with Scientification, it just like it hits
Yeah.
that last chord. Everybody hits the last little chord, and then all you have with just like all the feedback and everything is just like one little guitar leg going It's playing single notes, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But it's sick. I mean, it fades out, but it's a good way to end it though, because you hit it hard. I mean, you came hard there at the very end of that whole song, period. But yeah, I'm with you
You,
too. It's kind of like I don't know.
you know, my favorite ending to a song is like
What
type
is
of
your
ending.
favorite ending?
Whenever this is a fade out, but when
Okay.
they go and hit like the hardest part of the song again, where they're just like really getting down, you're so into it, and then they do the fade out, and the song never changes. They
Give
keep
me an
playing
example.
exactly the same way they were. Um, I cannot think of one off the top of my head, but it basically be like if you got back to like the break, like if you got back to the
I
breakdown
know
of
what
the
you're
song,
saying. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, and it's the thought that they're still playing through, and it's just like ending for you, you know,
Yeah.
if you get what I'm saying.
Yes. No. I get what you're
But
saying.
only if it's like a super crazy part where you're just like, no, don't go,
Right.
you know, or yeah,
I think one thing that makes me mad a lot of times is when you have a full album and every single song, like, I don't want to say they all fade out, but it's like there. I mean, put some variety in there of like like one or two songs throughout the album, like fading into each other. It's like I want to feel like that this is an album, not like I'm listening to like 10 singles. You know what I'm saying? So I would like some like continuous sound throughout it. You know, I think you're on mute.
Oh,
Nope.
I hate when a song like just slowly dies.
You know what grinds my gears?
What?
Nothing. I'm just saying.
Oh, a song that slowly dies.
No, I was gonna say, what do you think? What do you think about a song that just like cuts off at like how do I say it? Okay, the one that I'm thinking of is it's Stick to Your Guns. Um, it's off of True View. It's in the middle of the album. You Are Free. At the very end there, it just like they it's kind of like swirling. Everything's swirling. He keeps saying the same thing, and all of a sudden it's just like it just cuts off and goes like straight into the next song.
What's the one after that?
Um, shoot. Okay, so you got You Are Free, and then it's Doomed by You. Because it goes
Oh,
at the end of You Are Free, it's kind of like that swirling, and then it cuts off and goes right into Doomed by You, and Doomed by You starts off with like guitar feedback. Let's say listen to it real quick if you can. But you get what I'm saying too, though, right?
yeah, it's the you have to decide
Yes, yeah, there you
like
go.
part. Yeah,
I couldn't remember what the words were. Yeah,
yeah. You have to decide.
but what do you think about songs like that, though?
Yeah, because it goes like right into. I like that. Yeah, I like that. I like when two songs blend together really well. Also,
Yeah, yeah,
um, I also really like the end of When I'm God. The end of A Dark Campaign. How it just ends with like that
yes,
crazy just solo.
yes. Oh man,
Um,
the one. Speaking of that album, though, the transition from um, whatever the song is before to End of a Dark Campaign. That's dude.
Revelations in the Calm.
That's a sick transition right there to me. Because like that
Yeah.
whole song, Revelations in the Calm, just spins like it's just the guitar and the vocalist singing, and then it comes in with like the out of breath.
Yep.
It's like what the
I'm
heck?
bad. Yeah.
Right.
So good.
Sick, man.
The
Sick.
song that is the perfect embodiment of what I was trying to explain to you
Yes.
about
Yes.
is To Flagship. Now, just no, one other reason that that song is so amazing. Like it already has so many
What was it?
elements. that just
We
shoot
went
to the top.
we went through so many different scenarios. Or what was the scenario that we were trying to?
Where they hit a pivotal point in the
Oh,
song.
that's
It's
right.
usually
Okay,
like
yes,
the heaviest breakdown in the
yes,
song, and they continue it and it fades out on that breakdown. Like they
gotcha.
never
Okay,
stop, but the song
right.
fades out. And To Flagship is the perfect embodiment of that because it
Okay,
ends with that riff that's the da na 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 da na 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 dun 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 na 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 da na na na, and it just like that over and over and over, like it just carries all the way through as it fades out.
gotcha. Okay, yeah, sweet. Okay, back to He Is Legend. It Hates You. What do you have some favorite songs or a favorite song off this album?
Um, go back here real quick.
See, for me, the beginning is kind of weird. I don't know, those first two or three songs. Well, I think it's the first two songs. They just, I don't know, they kind of sound strange to me. And then for me, it kind of picks up in the middle with like Stranger Danger and Don't Touch That Dial and Decisions features Bright Man. I'm not really a fan of China White 3. I don't like the acoustic sound to it. I think they should have kept it, what it was on the first two. And I like the last two songs, That's Nasty and Mean Shadows.
I think a
But
lot of people, like from the numbers on here, I think a lot of people were curious about just finishing the China White saga.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it is
The least.
well over 1 million more listens on that song than anything else on the album.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay.
Yeah, the only thing that even comes close is Everyone I Know Has Fangs and Dicephalus.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I like Party Time. I like Everyone I Know Has Fangs. I do really like the Primarily Blues,
It's a good riff.
Stranger Danger, Decisions, Decisions, Decisions. Do you like that one?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Some of these,
heavier one.
especially on his vocals on like the chorus, he's doing like dubbing, but it's, I don't know, the vocals on the chorus of like decisions and That's Nasty, man. It just sounds really good, man. It's a good chord to me.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I said I like the riff at the end of Mean Shadow. That's how we got off on this
Yeah,
tangent.
that tangent, man. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think you kind of close the book on this chapter for these first four albums, because I mean, what we're about to talk about next, I'm not moving on just yet, but I mean, what we're about to talk about next is the hiatus, and they don't put out another album until 2014. So
Yeah.
people change, and you're gonna have some. I don't remember if they have any lineup changes between now and the next album. I haven't looked yet, but yeah, I mean, people change, and you go through this hiatus and everything like that, but. It's a good album. For some reason, this is the first time I actually listened to this album. No, I take that back. I listened to it before when I was a lot younger, and then this is my first time listening to it since then. And for some reason in my mind, I always thought that this one was their least favorite by their least popular one, by their fans' standards. But it was better than what I thought it was going to be, to be
Yeah,
honest with you.
numbers wise, it's
I don't know why I
kind
thought
of
that.
around the same as Suck Out the Poison.
Yeah,
I Am Hollywood does consistently better through the whole album than any of the others.
really, okay.
But I also know several people that was the only album of He Is Legend that they ever listened to,
Really, okay.
So, yeah.
Give these other albums a try, people. Seriously, don't just stick with one or two. Listen to them all, even if you hate them.
Here's the thing, Curtis, and I'm gonna go on a
PSA,
tangent here for a
PSA.
second. Here's the thing. You don't have to just stop listening to a band because like I get outgrowing a band. Like I've outgrown many bands for sure.
For sure, yeah, same here.
But the reason to stop listening to a band isn't because you feel like they're not relevant anymore or they're not popular or like I don't know. I just know so many people who, like I'd ask, "Hey, have you listened to the new He Is Legend album?" And they're like, "No, I haven't listened to He Is Legend since like 2005." I'm like,
Since
"Okay,
their
well,
EP. They're like, what?
you're denying yourself. If a band is good, you should listen to their music. And if it's not your thing, it's
Right.
not your thing. But
Right.
you shouldn't, like, if a band continues to put out good music, why wouldn't you continue to listen to them? You're already a fan.
Right.
Like,
At least
so
give
yeah,
them a try.
that's one thing that just drives me nuts. When people always be like, "Oh, I haven't listened to this band since this year." I'm like, okay, well, yeah, it's fair enough if you're listening to, I don't even, I don't have someone to throw into the bus right now, but like, if you liked a band and they continue to put out good music, you don't have to be embarrassed to listen to them.
Right. Right.
Like,
Oh, no.
yeah, it's just kind of sad. I'm like,
Yeah. I don't know. I was trying to think. So, like, I mean, you know me. I used to be big into, when I was younger, I used to be big into Between the Buried and Me. I had several other albums. I think the last album that I actually listened to was, I think Great Misdirect was actually the last one that I owned. And that was the last one that I've listened to all the way through. And I've heard some songs here and there off of some of their newer ones. But to me, that was one of those bands too, where it's just kind of like, I like my taste in music like changed, and I really wasn't big into like their sound anymore. I mean, I still listen to them every once in a while, some of their older stuff, but I mean, I haven't gone back and listened to any of their newer stuff yet. I would like to. It's on my bucket list.
right. Well, you just don't have that, but you don't have that mentality of
Right. I just don't have that taste
like,
anymore.
oh, Beneath the Buried
Well,
is a
yeah, and then
little
there's that. Yeah.
below me now.
They're below me now.
I've moved on to better stuff,
But I have no. No. No, yeah. I don't know. I get what you're saying though. I mean, I don't know anybody that is like that. I'm guessing you're saying that off of base of people that you know, but
Oh yeah, for sure.
are you talking about yourself?
Yeah, I'm that douche.
Are you talking about me? He didn't say no, people.
No,
So he
it's
must be
not,
talking
it's
about
not
me.
you either. I just said you're not being like oh, hey, I can't believe we haven't talked about this yet, honestly, with He Is
Okay, let's hear
Legend. Who is the woman who is doing backup vocals on most of these albums? On at least one track.
So I can tell you that there's somebody on this album. I think it's Decisions. There's a
Yes.
girl, but it's not the same girl from the last song on Suck Out the Poison, Louds.
Not on
Those are two
Louds?
different.
Okay.
Yeah, they're two different girls. Because they are credited on their Wikipedia page for those albums.
Who are they?
People I've never heard of, that's for sure. I mean, there's not like, usually like on like Wikipedia, you can like click on links for like people's names or whatever, and you can like find out more about them. There's no links for either one of these girls. So the girl that was on Louds is Laura Sweeney. You looking her up?
Spell the last name for me.
Sweeney. I'll look up the other girl here. Let's see. The other girl's name is it Bibis Ellison? I think it's Bibis Ellison. Bibis. Probably saying that wrong, but what else is new here, people? Let's see.
We're gonna go to Reddit for the answers here.
Reddit, okay.
Somebody else posed the question, hey everybody, glad I stumbled on this subreddit. I've been trying to figure out who the guest vocalist from Louds is, um, who she or yeah, who she is and who she's played with. Laura Sweeney is credited on the album for her vocals, but Google has failed me on finding any work by her.
Thanks a lot,
Unfortunately,
Google.
maybe someone here knows if she has an alias or a stage name she went by professionally. Let's see.
What's her stripper name? When you said stage name, that's what it made me think of.
Yeah, the first comment is super helpful. I believe she just goes by Laura Sweeney.
Thanks a lot.
Oh, weird. Somebody said they saw them in 06 or 07, and the girl that was selling merch at their table did the vocals in that song.
Like
So
on
maybe
that
she's
day?
maybe
For
she's
that tour?
nobody, man. Maybe she's just somebody they know.
That's all I'm wondering. I mean, like
A
sometimes it's
girl
like
with a
some of
good
these
voice. Yeah.
some of these people just come out of nowhere and they don't really have any like background to them of like
They
being in a
played
band or
the whole
anything.
song with her at a New Year's show in San Diego. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean that's what I always assumed with like these two girls. They were just like, I'm not saying they're nobodies, but I mean they just weren't like, wasn't like having like Gerard Way come, guest vocal or, whatever, Haley Williams or whatever.
Right.
So yeah. But all right, man. You got anything else for It Hates You?
Nope.
All right, man. We're gonna
Think
move
so.
on. That is 2009's It Hates You from Tragic Hero Records. 2 months after this album's release, Josh, which was released in July of 2009. So here we are, September 2009. The band would go on indefinite hiatus out of nowhere, man, out of nowhere with the Left Hook. Now, during this time, Schuler Kroom would fill in on vocals on tour for one Dallas Taylor in Maylene and the Sons of Disaster from September 2009 to February 2010. I didn't realize he did that. Josh, did you know that?
I didn't know that. Would that have been 3? Like them touring 3?
That would have been. Yeah, I guess so. Well, no. I thought 3 came out in 2000 and well, no, maybe it came out in 2009.
Let's find out.
2, I know 2 came out in 07.
3 came out in 2009, so
Okay.
they would have been touring 3.
Okay. Yeah, I all I know is Dallas Taylor had to step away for personal reasons, and the bands were good friends with each other. They'd been on tour together, and so Schuler Kroom, in this time of indefinite hiatus, decided to step in on vocals for Dallas. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I should have looked it up on YouTube, see if there was any videos of him playing with them, because I think that would have been kind of cool to see that.
Yeah.
Alrighty, man. That's where we're gonna leave it for now. On their hiatus, and we'll come back and we'll talk about the last 4 albums, starting with Heavy Fruit. You got anything else to say about these first 4 albums, Josh, that we talked about? It Hates You, Suck Out the Poison, I Am Hollywood, or 91025?
No, I mean, this is going to be like my favorite albums through this. It's kind of the consistent thing for me.
Yeah.
That the first block is my favorite. I mean, the later ones are good too. I love the middle through the end of Heavy Fruit. Few really played
is sick,
super
dude.
well for me, dude.
So
Like that's a
good,
great
man, yeah.
album. And Crooner Never Leaves, does he? It's him all the way through.
Yep, it's him all the way through, man.
Yeah, see, that's how you do it. See, that's how you fucking do it. You keep it together and you keep those consistent numbers by not fucking with what works. Like this is the thing. This is how this continues to work for them, even though it's not exactly the same.
Right.
But yeah, few like hits super good too, and then I even really liked White Bat. White Bat overall is pretty good. There's a couple skips on there for me, but like overall, White Bat's pretty good too. So
Yeah.
and then
Have you listened?
I'm
Okay.
going to listen to one like for the episode, but I haven't listened to it yet. Have you?
Yeah, I haven't. No, I haven't either.
Okay.
No, I was waiting until we got to it
Yeah.
to listen to it. So
We'll see.
we'll see, man. We'll see. Will we or won't we like it? Who knows?
I'll have to tune
We'll
in
just
to find out.
have to tune in to find out. All right, here we go. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at @IsSurvivedByPro for news and the latest episode postings, not just on this show, but our other shows too, Josh.
There's other shows?
There's other shows, man. There
Holy
are other
shit.
shows.
I can
Let me
listen
tell
to
you
these
about
two
it, man.
jackasses talk about other stuff too.
You sure can, buddy. One of them is called the Red Right Hand Podcast, which
Ooh.
we talk about the BBC/Netflix hit TV show Peaky Blinders, all 6 seasons. And
I love that one.
that's a good one. It's one of my favorites.
Are we
That
coming
was,
back with that one soon?
It's a good one, man. I hope so, man. I hope so. The other one is the Throne of the Dragon podcast, which is about the HBO show House of the Dragon, which is connected to Game of Thrones, if you didn't know that. When's that one coming back, man?
That show?
Either one, the podcast or the show, man.
Well,
I got withdrawals.
we're on show hiatus right now because the TV show House of the Dragon won't be airing until next year, I don't think. But in the meantime, we're going to be doing some stuff from Fire and Blood. I've got an episode coming on Aegon's Conquest. That one is almost done. I tried doing a scripted version and that was complete garbage. So we're gonna
Scripted
do it
version? What does that mean?
loosey goosey like we always do.
Oh, okay. I get what you're saying now. Okay. All righty. Hey, while you're on Twitter also, make sure to follow my co-host over here at Joshua Lynn Gary. Excuse me. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review and write us a comment on whatever podcast service you're using.
It's a lot. There's a lot to spill out here at the end.
There's a lot to spill out here, man. That's why I wrote it down. Now, if you want to listen to us and see our smiling faces, head over to YouTube. Just search Is Survived by Productions, and then I'll have every episode from all of our shows. Subscribe to the channel and thumbs up the video. And if that's all too complicated for you and you want a dumbed down version, just go on to Google and type in Is Survived by Productions, and everything's going to be right there for you. Just click away until you're happy. And subscribe to the show. That's it. That's all we got.
End of show.
Until next time. End the show. Roll the credits. Turn your phones off. Stop listening. Take your headphones out now. Turn tape over. That's going to do it, man. Till the next episode, He is Legend Part 2, where we finish it up. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.